ministers and the ministers of state from the central government, the ministers from the state of Karnataka, the senior officials from Department of Pharma, Department of Health, and several other ministries, the distinguished audience, thank you very much for assembling today. On behalf of FICCI's Medical Device Forum, which I represent, I am grateful to Department of Pharmaceuticals to champion the cause of medical devices and get us together for the second consecutive year. And I remain hopeful that this is just the start and we will do this for decades to come. I also wanted to personally thank the Secretary, Department of Pharmaceutical, for his intense personal attention and support to the program that we are organizing this time. A little has been talked about the medical devices. I don't want to repeat many things, but it is important to remember that we are growing at a very healthy 15% annual rate, very encouraging. But at the same time, we need to be mindful that today of the global supply chain of medical devices, India is just 1.3%. It is growing fast, but it is relatively small with a limited footprint of the global market. Medical devices in India is an $8 billion industry roughly. And if you look at healthcare in India, which is $110 billion, you will realize that medical technology is a very small part of the large healthcare initiative today. But I must say, and many of you from medical devices will realize this, or from the healthcare practice will realize this, that without medical technology, there is very little health outcome possible. So it has a very distinct, discontinuous impact on medical care. And therefore, as we scale up universal healthcare in India and we scale up the penetration of healthcare in India, scaling up medical devices is but a necessity. As we scale this up, I would request all of us to start looking at the possibility of putting together perhaps something which is going to be a vision document for medical devices in India, something like a Vision 2025 for what we are going to do and not act in isolation without a stitched-through strategy. And in doing that, we need to answer such questions, 5 prominent questions in my mind, and they are, number 1, whether we just focus on import substitution or we create global competitiveness through making India a manufacturer for the world. Number 2, given that medical devices is a development-based industry, not really a manufacturing-sensitive industry, not completely manufacturing-focused, do we make in India or we first create and then make in India? Number 3, should we focus more and more on the supply-side policy or really scale up medical devices through intense focus on the demand side of medical technology adoption? Number 4, do we develop indigenous capacity in isolation or do we develop capacity in India as a seamless fitment in the global supply chain? And lastly, number 5, as I already mentioned, are we going to remain satisfied with 15% growth or are we going to get a rightful share of the global market much, much more than the current 1.3%? In this conference, as a preparation, we have tried to do a few things differently from last year. Number 1, before we came to the conference, our knowledge partner and FICCI Secretariat put together a survey questioning the top medical devices companies, both indigenous and global in India, about what their sentiments were with regard to the market and its demand. And we will share some of them as we talk throughout the sessions today. And we will form several of our discussions based on that survey outcome. Number two, we have often talked about global best practices. We have talked about Ireland's practice of medical device manufacturing scale-up. We have talked about US FDA, Japan PMDA, and several global regulators in global harmonization, etc. In this conference, we have invited them to come and share. So not only we'll take a look at their best practices sitting here, we also hear it from the horse's mouth as to what they have done and how we can build collaboration. And lastly, in this big discussion around health technology assessment, we have gotten both Indian and global health technology assessment experts to come and form some dialogue in how we take this forward. We hope that in today's CEO roundtable for medical devices and through subsequent conversations in the several sessions, we will be able to really come up with concrete actionable items that we will action between now and the next year. In conclusion, it is important to remember that globally, and this is not, I say this with a purpose, globally, 60% of medical devices are with largely 40 enterprises. So there would be very, very key focus that needs to be of attracting this capacity into India quickly. The government has made a fantastic start with creating separate medical devices rules. And I congratulate the government for extremely, extremely high quality partnership with the industry. We will work on it further as we go by. But it is now time for us to get together and put together this Vision 2025 perhaps for medical devices. And I also say that in the current scenario where this very young industry is almost getting castigated in the media for several reasons, some logical, some not. I think it is very important to come together and create the realization that medical devices are miracle devices. They save lives which were not possible a few years back, and therefore have public appreciation of medical devices as well. And as I end, I request all of you to visit our exhibition area. We have really painstakingly put it together. And by the way, we have created a small little blood donation camp out there, to sort of create a social interface of medical devices and social good. There is a lot of participants, including those on the dais. It would be great to have a little bit of voluntary donation from you so that we can save some lives at the end of the day. Thank you very much.